As promised, I was going to do a review of my trusty Sanyo camcorder. Now, the reason I chose to get this was it's a dual camera, and it was one of the first dual cameras to come out. The model that I've got here is the Xacti hd2000, which is one of the higher end ones. The reason, obviously, you can see is obviously it has a bigger lens. The lens says 6.3 to 63.0 millimeters, 1.1.8 to 2.5. That's probably the focusing range. It takes a filter thread of 40.5 millimeters, and you can attach things to the lens if you want to. The great thing about this camera is you have the facility of taking pictures and video, and you can have various settings. So I'm just going to talk you through what settings you've got. Obviously you've got video stabilizer and photo stabilizer. You can do a manual focus and set it to a set point to focus to. Various exposure measures such as multi, center and spot. You can also choose an ISO as well. You've got white balance, you can manually adjust that. The exposure, you've got various settings such as program, shutter, aperture and manual, of course. There's a face chaser mode, photo wide, high sensitivity, digital zoom, but basically you don't want to touch the digital zoom really on something like this. But it does have a really good optical zoom on it. It does say full HD 1920 by 180, 60 progressive, it's 8 megapixels, which is quite good for a camera which is getting on a bit now. Other facilities you've got on there is a clock set, info display, startup display, operation, beep and post view. Shortcuts, noise reduction, image settings, brightness. You can actually plug an external microphone in, which not a lot of cameras let you do that. Language, TV output, you've got that facility. Also got power save, file number, format, reset. Go into the video options you've got. You've got obviously full HD quality. You've got 1920 by 180 at 60 frames per second. You've got the same again, but obviously you can choose 60 fields. You've got 1920 by 180 at 30 frames per second. You also got 1280 by 720 at 30 frames per second. There's also basically VGA quality at 640 by 480 at 30 frames per second. It allows you to do super fast shooting, but only at 448 by 336 pixels at 240 frames per second. And then if you want to go above that, you've got by pixel wise it's 192 by 108 at 600 frames per second, but the resolution will be really bad there. And you can also do voice recordings, and that's basically your video. Photo wise, it will go up to 12 megapixels at 4000 by 3000. You've got 8 megapixels in high mode, that's 3264 by 2448. 8 megapixels small, which is 3264 by 2448. You can do 6 megapixels in 3264 by 1840 in widescreen, 2 megapixels in 1920 by 180 in widescreen, 2 megapixels, 1600 by 1200. 0.9 megapixels, that's probably only suitable for doing internet pictures. 1280 by 720 in widescreen. 0.3 megapixels, 640 by 480, which is basically for VGA quality, and it's got a standard 8 megapixel multi-picture mode, 3264 by 2448 pixels. It's also got another mode for 4 megapixels at 2288 by 1712, and that's your photo settings basically. I just wanted to talk about the camera in a little bit more detail. It's basically like a gunshot, so you can take your picture. You've got a little display there. It doesn't give you the full view in the viewfinder compared to what you're viewing, but it gives you about 90% of what you are filming. Other facilities it's basically got a hot shoe for attaching flash as well as lights, which is really handy. It's also got a miniature flash, you can see there, nice little flash for taking pictures. Now let's get to the nitty-gritty of this camera. Basically it comes with a little stand adapter here, which has got the options of connecting by USB, HDMI, and obviously you can charge it in the dock. It also has a DC connector there for connecting to power. That's your slot for your SD card. That's for controlling your menu. You've also got your zoom and zoom out, and you can choose photo mode. And you've also got video mode. Right, what else have we got here? Well, at the front we've got a headphone jack for putting headphones in, and an external microphone jack as well. So you can connect external mics, which is a benefit for anyone who does photography or film, who knows that filming outside, really you need an external microphone to get good sound, and that's the benefits of this camera. Now obviously at this end you've got various buttons. You've got a photo button, a video button, you've got a menu button. Obviously you can change it to play mode if you want to look at what you've recorded, and you can zoom out, add in, and there's an off button, on and off button there. So the advantage of this camera is obviously it gives you full HD quality. Fits nicely in that cradle like that. For charging purposes it's brilliant. So I've got some other lenses here because I wanted to talk you through what you can put on it and what you can do with this camera. So what I've got here is an Emerson super quality 0.45x wide angle lens. I think this is 52mm filter thread on the back. Now you can get what I did here actually was I got a 46mm to 52mm adapter ring, and on that I attached a 46mm adapter ring for this camera, but it's adapting the 46mm thread to 40.5mm, which is what the filter thread is on here. You know, if I show you there, it's clearly says 40.5mm, and it says f6.3 on there, 63.0mm, and that's basically what it says on the front of the lens. So we can actually attach a lens on there with the adapter, and that's a wide angle lens. Then I looked on Amazon and I managed to get hold of this lens, which is, it's an Xacti lens, so it fits straight on with no adapter. It's 0.4x semi fisheye lens with macro. So obviously, there's, like with most lenses like this, it has a detachable part for macro, and this particular lens will fit directly on there when you screw it in, and it gives you a semi fisheye opposed to a full fisheye, so you do get a lot more in a shot. I'll give you some test footages with what the lens is like with all these lenses, and hopefully that'll give you an idea what these different lenses can do, you know. I just wanted to give some and that's one lens. You can buy some cheaper lenses on the internet, and one of those lenses is a 40.5mm professional 0.45x wide angle lens. That's basically similar to this lens, except a bit smaller, and this is designed to fit on that camera. So that's one lens, which obviously gives you wide angle work. And to be honest, before I actually got this Sony camera I'm recording on, this was my main camera, and that was my main lens basically. I also have another lens which is similar to this one, which is basically, obviously it screws on at 40.5mm thread onto the camera, but it's got a 2.0x telephoto lens on it, so that's good for obviously taking shots of distant images. But I'll give you an example of each one, and hopefully that'll give you an idea. I also have another lens here, which is a 46mm professional 0.45x wide angle lens. Basically, it's going to give me similar results to the 52mm one here, but basically, again, I've got an adapter and it'll fit on there. The last lens I got here is a PhD ultra high definition 16x fisheye lens. It's a good lens, good quality. It's hard and made out of steel, very robust, and you can actually attach that to that lens, believe it or not. Now, if I unscrew the end part of this, like with all lenses, they do have a macro part to it, and basically we've got a multitude of ring adapters here, ranging from many different sizes, and the idea is trying to figure out one that fits on that. Now there's a big ring adapter on there, 52mm to 58mm. So obviously this lens is 58, and there's also an adapter from 52mm to 40.5mm, which is the filter thread on that camera. So we can screw that on like that, like so. We should be able to screw that on there. And there you go. But as you can see, it is top heavy, so what you need to make sure is whenever you get a big lens is make sure it's not too heavy for the camera, and it is quite nice. And obviously with the zoom facility on it, if I could turn it on, so we've got that lens on, and I don't know if you can see, but if you zoom too far back, you can see, obviously you can see the corners of the lens at either side. Now I'm going to give you some test video so you can see exactly what it's like with all these different lenses, and you can obviously decide what you prefer. So I hope this review has been helpful. This camera is probably one of the best I've owned, and you can attach different lenses. And I just wanted to say thank you to the TV channel on YouTube called Bro and Mr. X, because if it wasn't for his review years ago I wouldn't have bought this camera. When I bought this camera it was around £300 about 2 years ago, and it's never let me down. It's a real workhorse of a camera. If you ever come across it on eBay second hand, buy it, because for the price it's so good, you know. I just want to show you how big the lens is, which is really big. I've got another camera which I bought about a year ago, which is the Panasonic HXDC1. There's a review on my TV channel if you want to see it, so check that out. As you can see, the lens is really small, and that's key to any camera basically. The bigger the lens, the better the quality is going to be. So whenever you buy a camera and you see a big lens, it might put you off and say, oh, it's quite big, but it actually pays dividends in terms of quality, because the bigger your lens is, the better quality you're going to get. This is the standard Xacti lens. I'm just going to do a pan so you can see how it's like. Now I'm going to show you the wide angle lens that I showed you earlier, which is 0.45x, which is designed to fit on this camera. Here is the professional 2.0x telephoto lens designed to fit on this camera. I just thought I'd show you what it's like. Obviously when you zoom back in you do see the edges of the lens. Now here is the Emerson Super Quality 0.5x lens. This is the 52mm lens that I showed you, the silver one, which is bigger, and obviously you can see the difference. So I'll just do a pan so you can see what it's like. And the zoom. Right, here is the high definition 16x fisheye lens that I showed you, the big black lens with the ring adapters on. And obviously, if you look at this picture, you can see the edges of the lens. The advantage of having a zoom inside the lens of the camera is you can get around that by zooming in a little. But I'll just show you a pan. And then we'll zoom in till we've got rid of the edges, so you can still see that it's quite wide, but it is bending the straightness of the lines a lot. And obviously we can zoom a lot further in if we want to. So as you can see, fisheye lenses does have its advantages. Here you can see my HD Pro Vivitar Series 1 0.43x wide angle lens. I'm using this on my Sony camera to do my video log, to record the review, so I thought I'd give you an idea of what the lens looks like. Right, here you can see the Sanyo Xacti semi fisheye lens, which is 0.4x semi fisheye, and you get an idea of what this does. This lens is designed to fit on the Sanyo Xacti camera, and obviously again you can see a lot of the edges, so you always have to zoom in a little bit to get rid of that. But I thought I'd just give you a little idea of what this is like, and I'll zoom in again so you can see what results you can achieve. There you can see we've got rid of the edges, so it obviously gives you the equivalent of a wide angle lens then, and obviously we can zoom in a little bit more. Okay, the last lens I've got is a 0.45x wide angle lens. This is a 46mm thread with an adapter on, and I'll just show you what that's like. So those are my examples. I hope I've showed you what you can do by putting extra lenses and different size lenses on your camera. The benefits of a bigger lens rather than a smaller one means you don't get any sort of edges around the edges of your picture. Disadvantages with a big lens is it's heavier on your mount and it's a lot bigger to carry around. So it's up to you what you prefer to go for. Just remember, ring adapters are available. They cost next to nothing, and you can adapt any lens to fit on virtually any camera. So I hope you've enjoyed my review, and keep tuned, and thank you for your time. Bye bye.